Happy holidays. Wanted to introduce our latest interview for Fame Adjacent. So, Michael Schuur and I sit down with Aaron Coleman. He was a production assistant for years on Blackish, on Cheaper by the Dozen movie sequel that just came out a couple years ago, on The Bitch Who Stole Christmas, which is a RuPaul favorite that was produced. So, he's now working as a Netflix executive in the accounting department. But here we're going to sit down with him and discuss everything about his time as a PA and specifically about Bitch Who Stole Christmas. Enjoy. Now, Mike. Perfect.
Hey, Aaron.
Hello, Aaron.
Welcome to Fame Adjacent. Sorry, I talked over you.
Hi.
All good.
Good to see you.
Yes, you too. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. My pleasure. Not like I have anything else going on a Sunday. We'll be honest here.
That's all of us. We're currently sitting on the couch.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Funny enough, I actually moved into this apartment a couple months ago. So I'm not even sitting on my couch, sitting on a chair I have. The one single chair I have,
Perfect.
That's kind of how it is.
It's relatable. Looking at my single chair over here,
He
I
does
feel
have
that.
Yeah, there's a lone chair. It's the bachelor lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Honestly.
It honestly is.
My gosh. So, okay. As everyone heard in the level introduction prior to this interview, but Aaron, I've known since, for 2 years now. 2 years now.
Yeah.
We met working on Blackish together. So Aaron, you've had a pretty kind of like all over the place career with entertainment, I would say, especially for
So
such young
far,
age.
yeah, definitely. So far, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay, how did you start in production? Walk us through the backstory of your journey.
Okay, so actually, funny enough, I got into entertainment not too long after I moved to LA, which I moved to LA about 4.5 years ago, and I've been doing entertainment for about 4 years now. So it didn't take that long to get set up, and I actually moved to LA when I was 16. I was actually adopted by somebody who worked in entertainment, and basically that's how the interest kind of happened. And so during my time at school, I actually went to Hollywood High School. I'm really local here. And during my time at school, I got a worker's permit to do background acting. And so that was my first experience on a set. I love that. It was a good time. It was really interesting. And, being actually on the camera, it was fascinating. But also more importantly for me, I think it showed me how expansive film is whenever it comes to all the jobs that it gives people. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I never even thought about these people behind the scenes. There's so many crew. There really is.
Oh my God.
So my first experience was on Blackish, which I have to say I wouldn't ask for anything else. It was amazing. It was one of the best experiences still of my life.
Really?
And so after I graduated high school, I actually was a 2020 graduate, so everything was shut down. It just so happened that film came back up before colleges did. And I decided I didn't want to do online school because it just wasn't for me. Didn't have a happy time my senior year of high school. So I was like, you know what? I'll work for a couple of years and then I'll go to college once it's back to normal because I don't want to pay money for like a Zoom class,
Yeah.
That was my rationale there. So then I worked as a set PA. Actually, the pandemic was also a big reason of why I was able to get a job where I was able to get a job, which is where we met on Blackish, because there were so many openings for the health and safety department. And so I was a set monitor slash set PA, which I'm sure everybody knows is a production assistant. And I was a production assistant for about 3 years. And I loved it. I worked on, I think, a total of 6 projects as a set PA. Some of them full-time staff, and some of them was just day playing.
Right.
But now I have made my way into production accounting, and I've been doing that for a year.
Love it. I know
Yeah.
it's such a fast track to go in 4 years from kind of being on set to now being in the office and in the accounting department. That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 years. That's really fun.
Right?
For back when you were on the background, when you background on screen,
Mhm.
I was wondering, do you have any like cool little stories, or like was there a certain show that you had to like maybe do like a 13 or like a 12-hour overnight shoot, and like did you have any like interesting stories that you do you have any interesting stories doing background? Yeah,
As
simple.
backgrounds,
Yeah.
honestly, with the when it comes to 12-hour days, no, because I was a minor working, so I would pumpkin. Um,
What's
but
pumpkin?
pumpkin is whenever it's the like legal limit of hours that a child actor can work.
Okay.
Otherwise, they must complete their school while they're at work as well.
Hmm.
I think you have to do like 2 hours of
Yes,
school.
2 hours for
Yes.
every, I think, like four you work or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I had to do 3 hours of school total, and I was working for like a total of 6 hours. And honestly, I was treated a lot better than the other background because I was brought in from a crew member.
Hmm.
So the coolest story I have is, well, every time they were placing me somewhere, I was in camera shot. I was like most of the time behind the actor's shoulder, like kind of, doing whatever, doing my thing. So
Yeah.
I got for the few times that I did background, I got a lot of screen time actually.
Hmm.
Right. I feel like that's the best way if you're going to do background is to do it once you're cool with the crew. Because
Hmm.
I definitely did it a couple times before, but no experience was as good as when they threw me on Blackish. Because then literally, like, camera would be like, "Where are you walking?" And like I felt like I was the star.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then they'll
That's
give you notes.
impressive.
They'll be like, "Oh, hey, whenever you walk by, you should just do something like this." I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, okay, never thought of that." I got the note. They were like, "Oh yeah, when you walk by, you should like drink something. Just do something that draws the camera or draws the audience's eye to you."
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, as you walk by, just make sure you like sip on your drink, do whatever. And it's also that's if like you were given a prop, which is fun because then you get to interact with a prop. You're not just
Yeah.
you have your own acting to do. You're like, oh yeah, I'm at the fair. I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna eat my popcorn, and I'm gonna play a game. You
Exactly.
have your own whole story going on
Oh,
aside
completely.
from the main story of the show.
Yeah.
What other shows did you background on? Can
It
you
was
name
just Blackish.
Blackish?
Oh no, American Housewife. Did
Oh,
American Housewife?
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was just that one. I was not given any special treatment, so I think I was just like walking around in a school.
Fair. Oh, yeah, 'cause that was over on CBS Radford, right? That one?
Yes, it
Okay.
was. Yeah, that was my first time on that lot.
Nice. Until we reunited again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
fun.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, because I know you were saying what people obviously know as set PAs. I don't know if people are as familiar with what a set monitor is. So
Mm.
that's the
No.
Disney. I feel like it's mostly Disney's term for it. I think other studios call it that too,
I'm
but
confusing, so can you explain it?
yeah, so it's what we call the COVID PAs. So technically the term is really just from like literally monitoring the set, making sure everyone's following the protocols that the studio hands down to keep everyone safe and protected from COVID and everything on set. So, but we call them set PAs instead of or set monitors instead of COVID PAs. So yeah, so there started to be a little bit of crossover, especially in the early aughts of COVID being a thing on set and kind of figuring out what everyone's roles were and how like what responsibilities would be set PAs versus set monitors.
Hmm.
So it was definitely tricky, but you came over to a pilot we worked on called Adopted.
Oh man, that was
Yeah.
Oh no.
that was
Uh,
a little yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that one did not get picked up. Um it was that was interesting. I feel like for people to know, I mean, sometimes they build sets for pilots and stuff. This one we did have some actual sets, but then we did about half and half that in
I
location.
think it was weird because I was asking the crew, I was like, there's no way we built this for a pilot, right? So I was asking crew around while I was walking around, and they told me, I honestly, forgive me, I don't remember what set it was, but they
Oh,
were
it
like,
was
oh yeah, this set was used for this show actually, and they just put different wallpaper. And I was
yeah,
like,
hmm.
what, really? So like the layout was the exact same as another show that
yeah,
was
it
just
was
like filming in that stage, and they just repurposed the set.
Totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was American Housewife. They like stripped down most of that
Okay.
stuff. Yeah, because that was the same soundstage as American Housewife that we shot that on.
Ah,
And so they
okay.
pulled, yeah, because I remember the construction guy saying they pulled down some of the stuff, and they were like, "Yeah, we just kind of moved some stuff around and changed some paint."
Is that to like be cost efficient, or is that also like time efficient, just to get things rolling faster? Do you know?
It's both because entertainment is very much so we have to do it fast. We got to do it now.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, for some things, they aren't as well thought out as they should be.
Mm.
So a lot of workers, to be frank, they suffer for that.
Mhm.
The poor planning of others makes the like on-set workers suffer because we're like, oh my God, we're on a time crunch because somebody didn't schedule this properly.
Yeah.
That's why at the end of the day,
And
most
that's
times.
scripted, right? We're all. I'm just making it clear to the audience. We're talking about scripted
We
television.
are talking about scripted, yes.
Hmm.
Unscripted is very, I've never worked on it myself, but I heard it's very run and gun.
Yeah.
It's like, it's planned out, but it's a much, much smaller crew and it's fast paced as well. And actually, set PAs, actually, non-scripted was born from a writer's strike. So whenever the writer's strike happened, they were like, oh, well, we can't do any more scripted stuff. So then unscripted was born.
Mhm.
And so that led to it being more non-union. So a lot of the job titles are much more broad and they have more responsibility, even though it's a smaller crew.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's how I think
Yeah.
people kind of move up a lot faster because they've taken on so much more responsibility. As a set PA, they kind of move up to be producers fairly quickly, I would say,
Hmm.
and
They
non-scripted.
definitely can. If that's their goal and they see their target, they can go for it really fast there.
Totally.
And you have the variables of all the other, the contestants and one gets sick, and then you have to like plan to like get the medical care, or there's a lot more variables in unscripted too.
I think with health or with COVID, once that happened, they had so many more backup plans. It was like,
Yeah.
if this happens, we got to do this. Like they already had plan A, B, and C thought out because it's like, well, if A doesn't happen because somebody gets sick, well, what if B gets sick too? So gotta
Totally.
have a C as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did kind of force everyone to plan ahead a lot more than they ever had before. And it also, I think, showed gaps in things that they probably should have been doing
Hmm.
before COVID
Yeah.
hit. Of like, oh, we don't have any plans in place for this, or even just like, hey, that wasn't actually that safe. Why were we doing that before? Like, I feel like it poked holes in the system a lot. But
Definitely, I agree with that.
yeah.
I think so as well.
So what was okay as a set PA? Can you explain to people like what a typical day would be like for you for scripted, like what you did on Blackish all day?
Hmm.
Okay, what I did on Blackish. So on Blackish, for my first experience, like I said, I started in health and safety. So I was it was weird. We called them zone PAs for a minute. They called us zone monitors. They called us like health and safety monitors. Well, it was just a whole bunch of names for us. But at the end of the day, we were a hybrid between a health and safety set monitor and a set PA. So what I did, it was interesting. I had the responsibilities of a PA where I would do distribution. So I would hand out the scripts to all the people who needed it for the day. And I would also, in my health and safety responsibilities, I would sanitize all of the equipment that was passed around through the crew. So, for example, I actually sanitized the slates daily, actually multiple times a day, once during lunch and once in the morning. I would do the slates, the clappers. So I don't think I ever dropped one. Somebody covered for me once and they dropped it. And I was like, what are you doing?
Oh
But
no.
I was like, never again. You won't do that again. Okay. It's like,
Yeah.
because
Please.
it was hilarious. I'm just naturally curious and I like to ask questions that maybe sometimes I shouldn't. I don't know. I was being handed the slates and I was like, hey, how much are these worth? He was like, about $500. I was like, what?
Wow, that's
Like you're
not.
joking.
Jeez, $500.
Like that, so that's for the very nice like it's all synced up on the let's see. Oh my gosh, I asked so many questions. I have so much information from this stuff. But the sound department handles the radio frequencies that the slates run on, which so whenever you have the sound and the slates sync together, you can pick out where the audio comes from in which scenes from the slate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
It's wonderful stuff. So that's more of just like the inside details of it. That's not necessarily my responsibilities as a PA. That was just extracurricular information I learned.
Right.
And so I guess the point with that can be made is as a set PA, you get to really run around and talk to people. Because especially when you're working on a sound stage, and in the case with Blackish, it was a veteran show, veteran crew. They've all of them, they came from really long running shows, like multiple seasons. And Blackish itself became a long running show. And so really there was not a lot for a set PA on stage to do by the time I got there, because a typical like responsibility would be to do a lockup, which would mean we're trying to stop crew members from walking into the shot. Well, the thing is, the crew members knew more about where the shots were happening than I did. So I ended up in the shot more often than they did. So they were like, hey, I would be talked to by my assistant director on the walkie. He's directly who we would report to, or she. It was awesome crew. So much diversity on that crew too. I loved it. So they would, whoever it was in the walkie, they would see me and they'd be like, hey, Aaron, we can see you in the window. And I was like, oh God, I was like, oh no. I was like, I'm supposed to be back here telling other people to not go back here. And I'm just like standing in the shot. I'm like, I'm in the Johnson's backyard right now, just making a cameo. Like, oh my goodness. But let's see. The primary responsibility of a set PA, I think, is to be the liaison of information. So we are the direct like ears of the assistant directors, and the assistant directors run the set because they're trying to make the idea of the director happen. And so as a set PA, AD says, oh, we're going on to this scene next. We just finished this shot. It's my job to basically be like a parrot and repeat what they said and say, all right, we just completed this scene. We're going on to this shot next. Or, all right, we're going on to coverage of this. That way, everybody around me, when I'm standing in my lockup position, everybody around me, I say it pretty loud so everybody knows this is what we're doing next. That way, everybody's on the same page. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much what a PA is for. We're the stores of information. We tell everybody, hey, yeah, this is what we're doing. But then everybody else does it. We don't really do much other than retain the information.
Galvanize the crew, essentially, the all 175, 200 people to start acting on what they know they're supposed to do next.
Right.
Very important.
It's and so that's a general PA's responsibility. Then you go into the more specifics. You have a walkie PA, which typically does distribution as well because they do walkies. So they hand out a walkie to, like she said, every 200 crew member. Like, so walkie goes to everyone. And then so most times prior to the COVID, there were a lot more scripts to distribute, like a lot more people got them. But by the time I was doing it, since I had only ever worked during COVID, I was only distributing like 25 scripts. It was really easy in the morning. And kind of lost my train of thought. Okay.
For the scripts for the 25, is that because there's less people on set, or is that because during COVID, or is it just because, is it like digital now? Did everything go digital?
So yes and no. There was a limit to the crew members on set, but not limited in the sense that the people who needed the scripts were still on set.
Okay.
A lot of the writers, they were everything was digital when it came to the writers, unfortunately. So there was only most times one representative from the writers on set, and a lot less producers on set, and the director of photography, he was still there. The director was there. AD's got scripts, which they're called sides because it's just for that specific day. It's not like the whole episode in a script. It's just for that day of what we're shooting. So those are called sides. So everybody would receive sides for the day. And other people that received it would be the camera department because they it's really cool. The whole like art of filmmaking. It's like amazing once you get to like that level of it. Because they need the scripts because on certain words that the of dialogue, they know, oh, I need to move my camera like this when this word is said. You know, it's really cool when it like comes down to at that point it's almost a science. It's like, oh yeah, you know, it's like a very elaborate dance. Everybody is kind of moving all together. And if one person is off with the sync or the rhythm, then it's like, oh, gotta go again. Gotta do it again now.
So yeah, but that crew was so. I feel like with a newer show, it would be harder. Like we got to see a crew in like the height of their timing of kind of working together and gelling. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was really great. The other side of that is like it was during COVID, so a lot of people weren't themselves too. A lot of people were still, you know, Blackish, I heard, was the second scripted show to come back.
Yeah.
So
wow.
we were brand new to it. We were told that we were coming in to do a system, when in reality we were coming in to create the system that would then be used going forward as the prototype. And so that was a really like awesome experience. A lot of people didn't like it. A lot of people felt betrayed. They were like, "You said that we would be doing something. We're creating something. That's different." Like we're not supposed to be the guinea pigs here. Like a lot of people felt that way. But you know, at the end of the day, whenever we're wearing our KN95s and like we're for the most part we're safe as long as you wear your mask like you should. And unfortunately, there are also people who don't like to do that either. So that made it a little bit, you know, questionable at times. But at the end of the day, I think that was one of the most responsible crews that I still have to work with or worked with because like for the most part, everybody on the weekends, they're like, "Oh yeah, what'd you do on the weekend?" I was like, "What do you mean? What did I do? I stayed inside." You know, I was like, I didn't do anything. And so because of that, Blackish had some of like we had very few positive cases during the duration of our show. And the only exception was when the holidays happened. Because people are going home, they're going to see their families. They've been in lockdown for a year. They're like, "Listen, I'm not staying home for the holidays. Come on." And so unfortunately, you know, some people did get sick, but at the like thankfully, everybody had minor cases. And we were all back to it like a couple weeks later. Like there were instances where our hiatus had to be extended. We took a nice week off for the holidays. It was just extended so that people could get better and we could lower the risk of more spreading.
Yeah, which they've definitely been doing that the last 2 years at least.
Yeah.
Which I think they're trying this hard, like really hard this year to not have to delay. But I know the past 2 years we've always been like, we're coming back on this date. And then the studio's like, actually, let's push it by a week.
Right.
Almost
Yeah.
every time.
So I'm sorry, I got super sidetracked, but a set PA, there's also a first team PA. They work with actors. Then there's a background PA. They work with the background actors. And it's totally different jobs. There's some people who are more suited for one and people who are more suited for the other. There are some people who are like unicorns. They can do it all. You know, they're really good with all of it. On Blackish, we did have some of those people who were unicorns. I know you remember Christina.
Yeah.
She was wonderful.
She was awesome.
But yeah, it's as a set PA, my experience, I didn't ever end up specialize. Well, no, that's not true. I ended up doing first team.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to do first
So
Oh, no.
And then that would consist of you're coordinating mainly with the actors once you're a first team PA. You're no longer on set, like, well, you are on set, but for the most part, you are making sure the actors are comfortable and have what they need in order to do the next scene. And then your responsibility becomes less so about helping the crew out, and it comes more of like, okay, first team, those are my people. I need to make sure that they know what's going on because they oftentimes need a lot more information than the crew does. So then that's where the teamwork comes in. You got your PAs on set, and you got your PAs working outside in base camp. Base camp is where all the actors' trailers are, costumes, hair, makeup, etc. So as a set PA, you get to work with everybody.
Love. Would
Okay,
you?
we're
Yeah.
gonna take a real quick break. We're gonna do a real quick ad sponsor from our group
Okay.
club because my eyes are starting to hurt a little looking at the screen, which is perfect. Because also, Aaron, sorry, Aaron, we're gonna actually get you a pair of Cheaters Club, so we'll talk after the interview.
Okay.
They have blue light in them, so they actually help with the screen. Obviously,
Good.
my like
Mhm.
little cute pair right here is
Right?
showing the ring light, but one day we'll fix that. But
I don't know how.
I don't know how, but magic. We'll be right back, and then we'll be back with Aaron. We'll talk about the bitch who stole Christmas.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Cool.
And welcome back.
Hey, Famies. Welcome back to Fame Adjacent. We're here with Aaron.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So, okay, we had just finished talking about the journey of all of what a set PA does.
Yes.
And you were saying that there was, or you were going to have a question?
Oh, no, and also like the journey with Blackish.
Yeah.
And then the pilot. Oh, I actually had a quick question about the pilot. How
Yeah.
does it feel? Because I also have projects that haven't come out. Like I've shot a commercial with Mercedes and it never comes out. How do you feel when a project you've worked on for such a long time, you put a lot of effort into it and it doesn't come out? And it for me personally, as a actor, it's hard to even get that material to put into like my reel. So how does it make you feel? Yeah, how does it make you feel?
Okay. So I can't say that we worked on it for a long time, and honestly, as the role that I played in the production,
Mhm.
I wasn't very involved with it. It wasn't like my baby, And honestly, as a monitor or as a PA, for me in particular, this is work. I'm happy to go get paid, you know, and the experience along the way. I mean, being frank with it, I gotta, pay bills. Um, so it, and like I'm not an actor. I don't have that investment in it, you know? And so I really, and a lot of like my life, I just try to go with a positive attitude, get the moments out of the days that I, enjoyed and spend time with people who are awesome. And, I think mission was successful on Adopted, regardless if it got picked up or not. I had met some cool people, worked with some cool people, and had fun along the way.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about being in entertainment is you do, since you're not always with the same people on the sets, you meet so many people. You just meet so many like, I mean, there's also some testy people too,
Sure.
but usually everyone's really kind and like it's just great to have those connections afterwards too, to get
Yeah.
new jobs too.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that I know I learned from getting into production was I didn't realize that when you're working on set that you're always basically hustling to find your next job after that one ends. I did not know that. And so legit when Blackish was over, I was like, "Where are we going?" And they're like, "Who'd you talk to?"
Oh goodness.
So it was very scary. So that was something I learned immediately that you're always looking for your next job. So relationships are important and you want to keep in contact with people,
Definitely.
especially the
Yeah,
ones.
I actually on Adopted shortly after I worked on that, like well, not shortly after, it was like months later. I ran into one of the people that we worked with on the Paramount lot. I
Oh
was
no.
like, "Oh, hey." We weren't even on the same production. I was just walking by their set and I was like, "Oh, hey, wait. I know you." You know? So it's so cool. And it is such a small world in the industry and we just run into each other all the time after we work with one another.
Yeah, that's what I kind of realized. It seems big because you're working with, 200 plus people on a project and then all these other shows are happening. But after a while, there's so much cross-pollination that you're like, you start connecting everybody to something else and running into everyone at a certain point.
Totally.
It's wild. Ooh.
Hmm.
Okay. So now, because we
Bitch, you
talked
stole
about,
Christmas.
yeah, 'cause you worked
Since
on
All
it's
right.
for Christmas Eve.
right?
Wait, today, right?
Yeah, I think it'll come out day before.
Yeah.
I don't know how
Today's
calendars.
Wednesday, you guys. I don't know. You just look at your calendar.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah. But you were a first team PA on Bitch You Stole Christmas, right?
I was the first team PA. I didn't even have any
Oh.
help. Um, which it was crazy. So that was a fun shoot. It was a 16-day shoot.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah,
Wow.
Whoa, that was
it was
fast.
not what people like. It's not what I thought it would be. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I'm doing a movie. It should be like 3 months, right?
Right.
No. So Hallmark films are films about they take about as much time as a
You do.
pilot. So
Mhm.
honestly, The Bitch Who Stole Christmas took about as much time as Adopted did.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so that was because World of Wonder, that's the type of project they wanted to make. That's what they wanted to allot for that type of project. And they wanted to make it a drag queen's Hallmark holiday film. And I think that's exactly what they did. I mean, it turned out pretty well. I mean, I have some own personal opinions about the storyline itself, but otherwise, I think it was you know I see the areas where it could have used a little bit more love, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
um,
That quick of a shoot.
for 16 days, that's
Yeah.
awesome. You know, and it actually turned into 17 days because we had one day where we shut down because all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, a bunch of people are positive. So
Oh.
we took a day off and we came back the next day, which opinions, but you know,
I was like, one
I
day?
was there, so
Oh,
yeah. Um,
Interesting.
16-day shoot. I met so many people very quickly.
Yeah.
I got thrown into the fire. I went from being a first team assistant on Blackish, and then I got this job offer, and it was like, oh, yeah, you're gonna be the first team PA, and I was like, oh, I was like, okay, I was like, so there's a whole other half of the job that I had never done before that I'm about to learn right now.
Right.
Is like on day one. And so I actually worked with my assistant director, who I was directly reporting to in base camp, because that's where I lived on that movie was base camp. I didn't visit set that much.
Mhm.
And that's because there were so many actors that 9 times out of 10, there was somebody in base camp. And if there was somebody in base camp, I had to be there. That way, I made sure that they had food, they had craft services. That if they needed something done with their costume, I went over to costumes and was like, "Hey, look, this is the deal." And also to relay information to set, like, so we're getting ready for the next scene. All right, well, Jen needs another 30, or and I would try to time it out. And a wonderful thing about being a first team PA is all of the actors loved me and did not like the rest of the production people. So because I took a lot of you know pages out of a lot of people's books when it comes to first team, and I was telling the actors, I was like, listen, on set is telling me this. I was like, but if you guys can get ready really quickly, then I can say, all right, we're gonna need all that time, but you guys are gonna be ready, and you'll get like another 10 minutes to chill before that happens, so you can get ready a little bit at your own pace. And I'll just tell them this time, and they're like, oh, it's like that works for me. It's like I can be ready. It's like I got you, Aaron. I was like, all right, cool, wonderful.
Perfect.
And do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna say because
Okay.
there were so many. Obviously, it was centered around drag queens and stuff, and
Mhm.
drag queens are kind of renowned for doing their own makeup. How
Oh.
important was the hair and makeup team, or did the drag queens show up ready to go, or like do their own makeup and stuff?
So there was actually a little bit of drama regarding this topic on set. Yeah,
Go
it's
on.
really juicy. Okay. So we had Brooklyn Heights, Ginger Minge, Peppermint, Jansport. Um, a few those were my primary four that I took care of.
Ah,
Okay. And then our guest appearances, who were there like the second most, I would say James Manfield, Victoria, no, Pork Chop,
ah,
Yes. Oh, yes.
Morgan McMichaels,
Mhm.
um, and then we had Kimora Black, Nicola
Mhm.
Graham,
Yep.
Pandora Box.
Raven
They were
Smith.
there pretty frequently. And so regarding hair and makeup, a lot of the drag queens didn't get the communication that they should have. And
uh,
they arrived under the impression that somebody was going to be there to do their stuff.
uh,
And then they got told, hey, so you're going to do your thing, right? And they're like, what? I don't have my bag. It's like, what do you mean?
oh
So
no.
it became a little bit of a drama. And then once we tried to get that sorted out, like it took a couple of days. There was actually a meeting during lunch that I missed because I was in base camp doing God knows what. Um, there was a meeting, and had some words with the assistant directors and everyone, and the producers and World of Wonder, and was like, listen, like, you know, except for, I don't want to like spill too much tea,
No,
Fair, yeah.
but
but it's
but
fair.
I will say at the end of the day, um, they both sides. She was not entirely honest with a lot of the things she said about and I think she just missed some emails.
Uh,
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
It
Um,
happens to the best of us. Happens to me all
right.
but
the time.
you know, everybody really rolled with it. Everybody kind of was like, okay, well, if this is what we're gonna do, I just need, I need to know that. That way I would come prepared. But at first it was like, what? You told me this, and that's not true. And so after that kind of got established, um, everybody needed 2 hours minimum to get ready.
Oh,
Some of them came with their face halfway done. That way they could do the rest, in the trailer at work.
that's fair.
But also because unfortunately they were only allowing for 2 hours of time for them to get ready, but they needed more actually for like the full look. They needed a
Yeah.
little bit more time.
Mhm.
So they would start at home, which really, in my opinion, was not cool. That's part of the production aspect that I was like, that could have been handled better. I was like, you guys want to do a movie about drag queens? Then take consideration for the damn drag queens, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
So they really honestly did amazing for what they were like, the cards they were given.
Yeah.
Right.
And we all became like great friends.
Wow.
I had a wonderful time with them. And honestly, one thing that I learned working with them
Mm.
is that all of them are so confident and sure of themselves and who they are. And so, me, honestly, I'll be really honest, I was intimidated. I didn't know how to approach them sometimes.
Mhm.
And so I was I was sometimes timid. But a couple of days I got warmed up, and they were like, okay, listen. It was like, Aaron, you're cool, you're cool. Like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay.
Oh.
Like, okay. But I was very serious about like the pronouns and what everyone wanted to be referred to as. And everyone was basically on the consensus, all right, whenever you're ready to call us to set, we're all just ladies. I was like, all right, cool. It's like, I can work with that. It's like, very nice. And everybody preferred their drag names. And I was like, okay, wonderful. I was like, this is all right.
That makes that easier for you
And
as a
so,
girl to know all of them.
so yeah, so much easier. And honestly, you know, I did have to also have some self-evaluation, be like, okay, well, like all these people know who they are really well. I was like, I can't come at them being like unsure of myself, because otherwise, you know, that's part of being first team, where it really takes a certain type of person. Because if you're working with a first team actor and you're trying to be fake, they'll see right through it. They're actors. Come on,
Yeah,
you
that's
know. So I
Mhm.
really had to had some like moments of self-evaluation and be like, okay, well, who am I and what am I presenting? And here we go. You know,
Yeah.
and for that, I'm very grateful for working on that project. It was a wonderful experience. Um, a lot of learning and a lot of laughing and a lot of hours. My gosh.
I was gonna
So
say, just because of how long I'm assuming their makeup took, and then just I know because it obviously reminded me of how RuPaul's Drag Race, like whenever they do the little musicals and stuff off to the side, but
right.
6 days that you guys, how long were your days on average, filming wise, like
So
production?
my most average day, the day that I kind of had the most was a 4:30 call time for myself,
Mhm.
4:30 p.m. A 6 p.m. crew call. So that's the call where all of the crew is supposed to be there. So as you can see, I had about an hour and a half pre-call.
Yeah.
Um, and even on that, I would arrive at about 4, because there's no way I'm arriving on time, because I know they're kind of scheduling it a little and
Mm,
Mhm.
I could use a little bit more time to get there, because I know some of the actors are going to arrive early as well.
mm.
Yeah,
So I
that's
was like, I'm gonna need to be a little bit early for everybody. There was one day, it was very rough. It was one day where I overslept,
Oh
and
no.
my AD had to cover for me. My assistant director had to cover for me, but it was good. I only overslept an hour, and as I said, I had an hour and a half pre-call, so I was still there before crew call, you
Right.
know, and nobody ever knew.
Nice.
Nobody ever knew except for him, which was so cool.
That's good.
Love him for that.
Right.
What was it like shooting a Christmas movie in LA during like the summer?
You know, actually, because a lot of our shooting happened at nighttime,
Hmm.
it
Okay.
was still cold.
It's still cold.
Oh, okay.
So we were actually at the Golden Oaks Ranch, in Santa Clarita, which you may or may not know. That's the Disney Ranch. Disney owns that ranch.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
a
know it was actually
very
called Golden.
popular. Yeah, it's Golden Oaks Ranch. A lot of people just call it the Disney Ranch.
Yeah, it's like I
Oh.
only knew it was Disney Ranch.
So we were out like way far deep in the Disney Ranch, and we were in their little. They have a little city set. So that's where the primary action of it took place. All the competitions and the mayor scenes and the Christmas tree stuff. And we had about 4 or 5, like no, like 3 days on stage, and like maybe 4 days at a location, which
Okay.
ended up being like a hotel area
Oh,
that was just rented out. Um, oh, and but about my day though.
right.
So, like I said, I got my 4:30 p.m. crew call, and lunch was around 12 at night,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and we would end up really finishing up around 6:30 or 7 in the
Okay.
morning.
Yeah.
So, working out in Santa Clarita, it was like an hour drive.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, I'd go home, sleep for like 4 or 5 hours, get back to it.
Mhm.
Right.
Um, you know, start heading to work, and yeah, that was it was a really tiring time. Coffee was a good friend during that time. Um, but also honestly, what made it so much easier was the fact that all of us were there working those hours, and it was like, yeah, we're all kind of doing crazy stuff right now because we're working like 15-hour days, and all of us are doing it. It's not like no discrimination. Nobody's not working 15 hours.
Right. At
So
least
Yeah.
yeah, we were all in it together, you know. everybody had their own coping mechanisms, but it was a good time. It's a really good time.
Because there's some bonding that happens when you're kind of in the trenches of working such long hours. Everything's funny, you're delirious. So everyone's like laughing almost to an extent about
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
It's wild.
It's like,
Oh,
oops, sorry guys, I told you the wrong thing. Whoops.
right.
it, it happens. They're like, oh, it's okay.
Fuck it off at that point.
It's like, actually, it's fine. You forgot to tell me, but I already knew, so I went over to them, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. I was like, okay, cool. But it happens.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do green light, on pause, canceled?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you can explain.
So essentially, it's our version of Marry, Fuck, Kill,
Yep.
but instead of
Okay.
that, we use like TV terms. So it's green light, on pause, or canceled.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then we're gonna make yours a little more open ended. I want to know, Christmas wise, if you were to work on another Christmas movie, to make a prequel, not a prequel,
Oh, like a reboot?
a reboot, like a
Mhm.
reboot of, which Christmas movie would you for sure want to work on? Which one would be like, and then which one would you just get rid of? Any
Ooh.
Christmas movie you've seen, including Home Alone. Home Alone counts.
Ooh.
Home Alone counts.
Okay. Okay.
So this is the most awkward part about me working in entertainment. I'm not a huge movie buff. I've seen like a handful of Christmas movies.
I'm not either, so I just
Okay, okay.
Oh no.
So do I answer that question now?
Yeah, let's see. Well, then, yeah. Do you want us to give you some movies then, just to make it a little bit easier on you, or do you
Oh,
want it to open ended?
so I got the open-ended part. We all good. So a movie I would have to work on, and if another live-action Grinch was made, oh my gosh, yes,
Yes.
yeah, I would love that.
That's a good
Childhood
one.
favorite on that one.
I like that.
You know, since you mentioned it already, Home Alone. I mean, I feel like it's a little bit. I've worked on a third reboot of a movie, which was Cheaper by the Dozen.
I
And I gotta say, the more they make it over, the less good it gets. So, leave Home Alone on the side. Don't fully get rid of it, but just
Yeah.
okay.
The ratings
Um,
are not that great, so don't watch it. I
Right.
mean, sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Don't.
And one that I just couldn't care for, man, I don't have like a strong opinion on that one.
Fair. Okay. I'm trying to think if
I
there's
can't think of it really any.
I know. It's like,
I was gonna say like a Jennifer Aniston like Christmas movie. I don't know.
how dare you?
Sorry. I love Jennifer Aniston, just not. I don't know.
See, I feel like I probably couldn't answer the canceled one either because I genuinely will watch anything. Like if it's Christmas, anything. Hallmark, Tubi, Lifetime. If it
Ooh.
has like a defunct like R&B star playing like a diva or something, I'm
Mhm.
in it. You got like a Tony Braxton, a Patti LaBelle, like anyone, I'm watching it.
I mean, it could also be like canceled. Like I wouldn't want to work on it because it's so great.
Oh, okay, way to spin it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Call me Michael Sawyer.
I think I wouldn't even even though it was a hell of a time making it, I would not cancel The Bitch Who Stole Christmas. If there was a sequel,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
I would be like, yeah, you need any accountants? I got you.
I would love a sequel to that. So right
was
now you can
fun.
see it on. Correct me. So it's YouTube and Amazon right now, right? Because VH1, it's not currently on
think those
VH1 right now.
Those are the places that we saw it at least. So I
That's
feel
what
like,
we
yeah.
found our.
So like YouTube.
Okay.
Amazon
We'll say that.
Prime.
We'll say
Yeah.
that.
It's
Go
on
watch-
YouTube?
Yeah, you can rent it on YouTube or buy it.
Oh
$2.99.
wow.
Yeah.
I was just aware that it came on VH1. That was
Uh-oh.
all. That's how I watched it. Actually, no. Take that back. I only watched it at the screening.
Oh, fair.
Because that was 2021, right? So that was in the midst of COVID. Or like mist.
Yeah.
It was yeah. Things were getting more relaxed, but there were still a lot of people who were very conscious of it.
Yeah. Okay.
fair.
Very
Ah,
fair.
Right. It's like technically, I mean, at least it's keeping me employed. So keep having
I know.
You're being a little afraid.
Oh yeah, afraid. Don't get it. Be
Don't get
afraid.
it, but just like, be like spooked by it a little bit.
Yeah.
Pay my bills. Perfect. Yeah, we'll see.
Any last questions?
Ooh, I mean, you gave us so much information. It's helpful. What are okay? You said you were working. Sorry.
No, you go.
And then you said you're
My
working
brain.
now in accounting. So, like, yeah, is that where you want to like land now with your entertainment career
Mhm.
in accounting?
You know, yes, yeah, that's where I'll continue to move up there. I
Okay.
will. You know, but I would really love to answer one more question about the bitch who stole Christmas. I would love to, just
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Go
So,
for it.
well, I mean, without naming names, was there a situation? I guess we've already talked about a couple, but like on set, was there a certain situation that was hard to deal with, and how did you resolve it yourself? How did you resolve it yourself?
Okay.
Without naming names.
Right.
Like, did someone like I don't know
There
refuse
was
that, and they wanted I don't know, and you solved it somehow?
there were I think honestly there was one instance that unfortunately kind of stole the show. And it's not even not even a laughing matter, honestly. It was very inappropriate, and people shouldn't bring alcohol to set is all I'll say.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Unfortunate truths,
I
unfortunate.
know.
But hey, that's why people like us, we just got to stay positive and bring the joy wherever we go,
Exactly.
because it doesn't matter who's like trying to rain on the parade, or who's can't control themselves, who has no self responsibility or accountability.
No.
We just gotta do the best we can and spread the joy where we go, and
Yeah.
have a good time.
Totally.
Do you have one last question?
I did think of one last one, just because there were so many people on Bitch You Sold Christmas. Were any of the like cameos kind of more of like last minute surprises where they were like somebody called in a favor and someone came
Oh,
in kind of late and was like, "Yeah, I'll drive up to Santa Clarita and do it," or was every person kind of planned from what you understood?
Let me. Um.
'Cause I feel like Rue has such an arsenal of people
You
that
know, I
called
do
upon.
believe everyone was planned.
Okay.
I think some of the biggest was Charo and Kim Petras.
yeah.
But Charo for sure. Also Michelle Visage, she
Oh,
she
yeah.
was always planned to be a part of it.
Gotcha.
But no, and nobody was like oh, surprise, we're getting this person.
Where
Oh
was
yeah.
Raven? Can you explain what
But
happens to
here,
me?
how about this? How about this? There
Okay.
was a surprise when um we were told that somebody was rapping. Like, oh, it's their last day, it's their last day on camera. And then the next day happens and they're like, we actually need this person back. And they had already taken a plane to New York and they were already back in New York. It
Oh no.
happened so last minute. It happened during that day, and they were like, yeah, well, I guess I'll be there, and
Also, they came back.
yeah, they came back.
Wow.
And I was like,
Okay.
oh, because we said our goodbyes, I took photos and everything. We said our byes, and then it's like, I'll see you soon, whatever. Yeah, it was too soon.
Oh
Oh God,
no.
As I saw them 2 days later, I was like, hey, good to see you again.
what are you doing here? What? I thought you were
Exactly.
home.
Right,
What have you
right.
done?
So
Wait,
that was a funny instance.
yeah, and I know you were asking too. Where was Raven? They had it
Where was
listed that
Raven?
Raven Simone was
I
in
was
it.
I watched it twice. And I could not find Raven.
So Raven actually ended up doing was doing Rue's makeup.
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh no, not Raven.
No?
Raven
Raven Simone.
Simone.
Sorry.
Raven Simone. No,
Yeah.
was not in it. Not in it. Not in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
because she
that's
was
so weird.
listed in there. I kept looking for her, and I was like, wait, there's no Raven.
I know that was
Okay,
so weird.
they probably got it mixed up with Raven.
They might
Who I
have.
saw, obviously. Yeah, Raven.
Right.
Yeah, because if you Google, yeah, because like if you Google the movie and like pull up all the cast it
It's Raven
shows,
Simone.
it shows Raven, and then like later it's like Raven Simone. I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't see Raven in that.
I was like, so, and I watched back,
Interesting.
and I was like, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
We hit one. Yeah, no.
We've
No, we didn't have Raven.
There we go.
don't trust Google. That is what we're saying. people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Google will lie to
Right.
you.
Well, it was really great having you on Fame Adjacent, and really nice meeting you because my first time.
Yeah. Yeah, nice to meet you as well. I thank you so much for inviting me. I was
Nice.
glad to be a part of it. Glad I could share some info and my experiences. Love it.
Yeah, your wealth of knowledge, Aaron. It's perfect.
Party down. And then, yeah, of course, again, I'm going to mention because I am a product hoe.
Yes.
Sorry, but
Hawk
like I
your
am.
wares.
We're gonna give you the code later to get a pair of Cheaters Club. There's tons.
Yes, show your
Your
shirt.
shirt, Tuckahoe. That is where
Yes,
it's
he's wearing
placed.
his
Bitch Who Stole
his
Christmas.
rap merch. Yes.
I love that.
Oh, actually, that's what else I want to know too. Where else did they give you anything else along with your rap gift?
Ooh.
No, just a shirt.
Okay. Well,
No.
we love
We love that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Aaron.
Yeah, of course.
And
Bye, Famies.
bye.